1967's Casino Royale is a James Bond spoof that had a decidedly disastrous production. The film starred comedic performer Peter Sellers in the role of Ian Fleming's famous super spy, and Peter took the role seriously. So seriously, in fact, he ended up feuding with one of his co-stars and blinding the other. The co-star he feuded with was Golden Age legend Orson Welles, who Peter had actually recommended himself to play the part of the film's villain. And Peter nearly blinded Jacqueline Bisset, who played the part of Miss Goodthighs. Join Facts First as we explore how Jacqueline Bisset almost lost her eyesight on the set of Casino Royale. Actress Jacqueline Bisset was early in her career when she found herself given the chance to appear in a James Bond film. It was the mid-60s, so the popularity of the character was at an all-time high. She was offered the chance to star in a theatrical adaptation of the first novel to feature the character, Casino Royale. The first theatrical film featuring Bond was 1962's Dr. No. Sean Connery played the character to universal acclaim. Though Sean was a relatively unknown performer at the time, the role turned him into an icon. So at first, when Jacqueline was offered the chance to appear in an adaptation of Casino Royale, she likely thought she'd appear alongside Sean Connery. This wasn't the case. Most of the people who signed on for the movie did so under the presumption they would be performing in a legit James Bond film. And while Casino Royale did feature the character and was technically based on the first book in Ian Fleming's classic series of novels, the 1967 feature is technically not part of the franchise proper. Instead, the film is a parody that just so happens to have been afforded the opportunity to carry the authentic James Bond branding due to rights issues. The producers of the James Bond film franchise proper didn't own the rights to make a film adaptation of the book until around the new millennium. Before that, they were owned by an entirely different set of producers by pure happenstance. When those producers saw how popular the character was becoming, they decided to capitalize on it by adapting the novel they had the rights to. So 1967's Casino Royale was born. Not knowing exactly what to do with the property, the film ended up being a comedy. Peter Sellers was cast as Bond, and the film was meant to parody the proper entries in the Bond franchise until that point. Nobody knew Casino Royale was a comedy. Jacqueline Bisset didn't realize the film she'd signed on to was a parody until late in the game. This revelation was probably a disappointment for the burgeoning star, as she was undeniably looking forward to the opportunity to appear on screen alongside Sean Connery. But she took solace in the fact that she'd appear alongside notable comedic performer Peter Sellers, not to mention Orson Welles. When it came time for Jacqueline to film her first scene with Sellers, she was nervous. Peter was a pretty big star at the time, thanks to his roles in films like The Pink Panther. Meanwhile, Jacqueline was essentially an unknown, receiving a pretty big break. She came onto the set with a good deal of enthusiasm, despite having been lied to about the part. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Peter Sellers added injury to insult for Jacqueline Bisset. During the first scene Jacqueline and Peter filmed together, Sellers decided he would fire a surprise blank in the actress's face to get a spontaneous reaction. He did this as soon as the actress stepped through the door of the stage after cameras started rolling. And Jacqueline's reaction was spontaneous indeed, but it certainly wasn't as comedic as Peter had been intending. Peter had drastically miscalculated his comedic whim, and his firing of the blank in Jacqueline's face caused severe burns when gunpowder escaped from the gun into her face. Jacqueline has claimed her first thought was that she had actually been shot in the face with a real bullet due to the extreme pain she felt. She soon realized that her face was simply burning from gunpowder. Bisset feared she was going to come out of the event blind, but thankfully she retained her sight. She was able to heal enough to resume filming, and her character of Miss Goodthighs can be seen in the final product. Sadly, the legacy of the film isn't quite strong enough to make Jacqueline feel as if the burns were worth it. Following her painful appearance in Casino Royale, she went on to appear alongside Frank Sinatra in 1968's The Detective. That same year, she also appeared alongside Steve McQueen in Bullitt. Though Jacqueline is seemingly the only person Peter Sellers burned during production, she certainly isn't the only one he got on the wrong side of. He also had a disastrous relationship with Golden Age legend Orson Welles. This was made all the more ironic by the fact that Orson had been given the role at Peter's insistence. He was cast in the role of Chiffre, who is Casino Royale's main villain. Peter formed a big grudge against Orson Welles. When it came time for Sellers and Welles to film James Bond and Le Chiffre's would-be iconic scenes at the poker table, the two actors were getting along so poorly that stand-ins were required. Apparently, the start of their poor relationship was an incident involving an on-set visit from Princess Margaret, who was the sister of Queen Elizabeth II. Given that Peter came from the UK, a visit from Princess Margaret was a much bigger deal to him than it would have been to the American-born Welles. Peter made special care to be as courteous to the visiting royal figure as possible, but it ended up being Orson who received all of her affection. Even if it wasn't Orson's fault that Princess Margaret preferred his company to Sellers's, Peter still decided he was going to hold a grudge. From that moment forward, Peter decided he would never speak to or work with Orson Welles again. This came in spite of the fact that the two had plenty of scenes left to film together, as well as the fact that Peter was the one who had asked for Orson to be there. It's also been suggested that Peter got mad at Orson because he insisted his character be displayed performing magic tricks. Casino Royale somehow ended up making money. By all accounts, Sellers was an all-around disaster to work with. A big part of this likely came from the fact that the film's producers had duped the performer more than anyone. Peter was another of the many performers brought onto the film under the pretense it would be a legitimate production to rival James Bond films like Goldfinger and Thunderball. When it was revealed the film was intended to be nothing more than a spoof, Peter was devastated. This certainly played a role in his subsequent erratic behavior. Peter was also rumored to have punched the director, and some even suggest he was fired from the film before its ending. It is a fact that a stand-in was in Peter's place for a variety of scenes towards the end, but it was never confirmed that this occurred because he was fired. The film was a critical disaster and one of the most expensive comedies of its day, but it somehow managed to escape becoming a box office bomb. It made $40 million on a budget of only $6 million. Decades later, rights to the film were purchased by the producers of the James Bond franchise proper for $10 million so that a proper adaptation of the novel could be made. Now it's time to hear from you. Have you ever seen Casino Royale from 1967? Let us know in the comment section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. By the way, if you haven't joined Facts First as a member yet, be sure to look below this video and click the join button. By becoming a paid member of Facts First, you'll get access to exclusive video content that you won't find anywhere else. This includes some of our more mature content that isn't suitable for public audiences, which includes topics like Hollywood actresses who posed for Playboy and some of the steamiest moments in movie history. Plus, you can enjoy these videos completely ad-free. Our biggest fans will notice they also get badges next to their name when they leave comments on our videos. We pay special attention to comments from our members and so do other viewers. So if you want exclusive content from Facts First or inside access to discussions with other community members, click the join button to get started for just $4.99. There are hours of members-only videos waiting for you, with new videos added every month. And we're actively working on bringing even more features to help fans like you connect with other members and get more of your favorite content. Just click join, and we'll see you inside the membership tab.